fireworks. I can say that I don't think Mr Beast is genuinely a good guy anyway. I think he's all doing this to create this image of himself. I think he does the charity stuff mixed in with the rest, so people like me don't come out and say, why are you wasting so much money on the most ridiculous, stuff imaginable? Why don't you put this to good use? So what he does is he does put the money to good use in certain instances and certain videos, but if you take a look at his entire channel, it's not like he's doing overall good things with his money, he's wasting his money overall. And it's clear because the videos where he wastes the money on stupid stunts do way better, which of course make him more famous, which of course get him more subs, get him more views, get him more money for him personally. To us, what would be worse with someone like Mr Beast throwing around this amount of money? I guess you could say it's not so bad because he's raising that himself, it's his own personal money. Well, it turns out that Mr Beast is in fact not using his personal money all the time, he's actually using your tax dollars to fund his stupid stunts. So Palmer Hatch reporting for Insider, companies owned by YouTubers Mr Beast and Jeffree Star got hundreds of thousands of dollars in coronavirus relief loans because this guy clearly needed some coronavirus relief when he's not only giving out money to people who need it because of coronavirus, he's actually spending 600k on fireworks. You've seen a scheme which they can take advantage of during the global pandemic and use it to cover a lot of their costs, which is probably a significant amount. It says there, the loan is for between $350,000 to $1 million. But when a guy is chucking around this much money, when a guy is making this much ad revenue on his videos, there is no way in hell he is making those videos and not being able to afford to keep the lights on wherever his company is stationed or pay his employees wages. So everyone coming at me at the last video saying that, what have you ever done for charity? You're so wrong about him just trying to cultivate this image. I think this vindicates me somewhat because it just shows this guy isn't a good, selfless guy. It just shows they only care about the bottom line. And I pointed this out. I said that getting this social capital, this image that you are some amazing charitable guy, you don't care about money in the sense that you want it for yourself, you just want to make as much money to give it all away. And this guy talks about it on Twitter. If you cared about that stuff, why are you taking money which is paid for by people's taxes? And also, a side note, I've seen him in multiple videos also during the pandemic giving his mates loads of money and loads of free stuff. These people are also probably on his payroll as well, so just think about that. He's not only paying them with government money, but in his videos, whatever other money he's using, he's giving them a load of free stuff. So it seems like quite a sweet gig for Mr Beast. So just don't trust people who make clickbait garbage, even if they do supplement it with more charitable videos. He's not doing it out of the goodness of his own heart, he's doing it towards creating a brand which in the long term is going to be far more lucrative. Team C's and Team Tree stuff is all well and good, but they're very extravagant events which loads of people pay attention to. Mr Beast got his fame from doing ridiculous stunts about like listening to Jake Paul songs for 10 hours or counting to 100,000. He never did it because he wanted to become wealthy and help with charity. He never expressed a desire to do that. And his often psychotic ways of gaining fame don't make me think this guy cares about the environment and that's why he does everything. It makes me think he only cares about clout, because it's clear this guy is just obsessed with fame. That should be clear to anyone who knows anything about his early career. In old interviews, he talked about like gaming the algorithm, knowing counting to 100,000 would do good for a video. Again, he didn't go through all of this to clean up the oceans and plant trees. So overall, simping for Mr Beast is stupid. Even if you like him and think overall he has like a net positive effect on the world, it's ridiculous because we know nothing about how he pays his taxes. Overall, in my opinion, Mr Beast is just a clout chaser and he's just doing this for his own image and he's doing this to get more popular and rich. He doesn't really care about these things. And I think the clearest indicator is if you care about the environment, why are you shilling crypto? If you're so wealthy and you're putting all your money into charity, why are you taking federal loans of the government?
who really cares? I mean, the videos are just for entertainment only, right? I mean, it's not like he's ever rigged the results of a challenge. That would be impossible because he films with hundreds of random subscribers, right? Wrong. Let's look at this video. Not only were the results of this video completely scripted, but the contestants are not random subscribers.
So many people had jobs.
Oh, that contestant had to get out for her job? I guess you forgot she's your hiring manager. I actually recognize a lot of people in this video, including Jimmy's own girlfriend. So yeah, the random subscribers you see in challenges are actually never random. They're almost always local to Mr. Beast and oftentimes friends and family of Mr. Beast employees or just the employees themselves. And when they do pull someone from outside of North Carolina, it's usually somebody who's in the industry, who's camera trained, who has built a following. They are never random subscribers. If you subscribe, you will not win $1 million. And what's even worse is that the results of this video were completely scripted.
Hey guys, so it is time for a video because I have received messages from over a dozen people involved with the current Beast Games. For those of you who don't know, Beast Games is a competition show ran by Mr. Beast that will be on Amazon Prime. It is being marketed as the biggest competition show ever. I'll talk more about that later. On to the messages. So the messages that I have received from contestants on the show are pretty much all telling a similar story, and I find them to be very disturbing. We were given maybe 400 calories a meal and only fed every 12 hours. Food would run out and people would fight over, steal, and hoard food. Water was scarce and kept running out as well. I had to sit with a bloody pad for 2 days before I could get undergarments and my reusable pads because I'm allergic to regular pads. We were also sleep deprived, only allowed 3 to 4 hours. We all slept on the floor in the stadium in a $10 sleeping bag.
So today is first morning, I guess it's afternoon now, that I've experienced being eliminated from the new Mr. Beast Game Challenge. A lot of people have come up and expressed that they are really not doing okay. It was so much work and exhausting to just get to that point to even be in the games, and then to be kicked out, and you kind of get ostracized. The staff, like, they become really cold towards you once you're actually kicked out. Mr. Beast does not talk to everybody, all his fans or anything, and I mean, like, there's so many different things. I'll keep giving updates on this, but like, Mr. Beast is a monster, and the games that he does are really cruel and sick. They actually had called a one kind staff member of the only three kind staff members that I came across that were like really concerned about the well-being of all the people that were so distraught had actually come to me and asked me if I was okay, and I told them I wasn't. They kind of destroy the contestants. It is extremely psychologically damaging, and I really think that it should end.
So nearly 4 years ago to the day you're watching this video, I uploaded my first video criticizing Mr. Beast, and I focused on basically his game show format and how he was exploiting poverty of one of the contestants called Mark, who we're actually going to talk about today because he did talk about this actually recently, which is interesting and also plays into my argument that generally Mr. Beast has never been a good guy. Now, I've been making these videos for a couple years now. Whenever Mr. Beast has uploaded something, let's say, interesting, or he's gotten into controversy, but it's fair to say, I don't think there was pretty much anyone on YouTube who was criticizing Mr. Beast in 2020. Because when I was trying to make that video in the first place, I remember looking up, you know, criticisms of Mr. Beast, and I couldn't really find any. And of course, because not many people were criticizing wholesome Kino Keanu Mr. Beast, I got loads and loads of hate on that video and in subsequent follow-up videos. And it's really funny thinking back, probably some of the biggest dog piles I've got on YouTube and Twitter are both conservatives and alleged leftists criticizing me for criticizing wholesome Mr. Beast. But now it seems like everyone is criticizing Mr. Beast. Mr. Beast is now the worst person ever for a variety of reasons. Now, the Ava Tyson stuff, I'm going to talk about a bit because something actually came out just very recently. And I was going to address that in this video, but this video is actually mainly focused on Mr. Beast himself. And of course, Mr. Beast shares some responsibility in the Ava Tyson stuff, which we're going to talk about as well. But the whole theme of the video is basically, it didn't take someone like me necessarily to make those videos. Like, I didn't have to be the first one. But what I think happens is people just don't have critical thinking skills anymore. And people call me a hater. And I am a hater. And I think most people should be haters of stuff that just looks ridiculous on its surface, made by a super rich YouTuber where he's just throwing money out left and right. Like, why does in most people's head that red flags not go off? And as we've seen for many years, it's because Mr Beast is covered for by so many mainly centrist or conservative YouTubers. Like, how many YouTubers have made videos basically attacking people like me for putting forward mild criticisms of Mr Beast's either main channel content or charity content? Far more people have done that than they have in criticising Mr Beast. And now suddenly, when their fave YouTuber might actually have to say something about Mr Beast, now everyone hates him. I think it just shows you the power of, I guess, the higher echelons of the YouTuber community, where they all just cover for each other because they all got financial interest in being mates with each other, which was made so apparent by the most recent Mr Beast video, where like Logan Paul was in it and basically every single famous YouTuber. And are these people all friends? Of course they're not. And some of them make videos on absolutely everything, but will they make a video about all these new allegations about the stuff going on in Vegas right now? I really doubt it. Because again, these YouTubers care about money. That's why they're all fake friends. But obviously that goes down to their audiences. So many of these child audiences or young audiences just think, yeah, Mr Beast is the best guy because he gave homeless people money and food or something, right? So we're going to get into all of this today. I'm not sure this video will be demonetized, but if you want to support my work, support me doing maybe longer videos where I can cover controversial stuff more, consider supporting me on Patreon, trying to build up as many $1 to $3 patrons as possible. Benefits include early access to most videos and also access to the private Discord server. And that's a nice jumping off point to talk about Mr Beast recently. So throughout this video, I'm going to be playing little bits of my old videos, and I've put them all in a playlist hopefully right now, so you can go look at them for yourself where I break things down in more detail. But let's talk about Mr Beast and Ava Tyson and Discord, because the allegations have come out recently, and you know, pretty good evidence for it, from people running old Discord servers involving Mr Beast and Ava Tyson, where, you know, they were talking about sexual topics in Discord chats with people who were like, you know, 15 and 16 when they were in their 20s, right? So that was sort of the big controversy going around at the moment. Now, linked to that, there's also clips of Mr Beast and Ava Tyson previously telling like racist jokes and stuff. And yeah, like no shit, like everyone knew about that if they've been following Mr Beast, but most people don't remember how he got famous for just doing the most stupid stunts and saying like edgelord things. So they think he was never like this, but yeah, he was always like that. And the point of this video isn't to drag up stuff this guy said when he was 17, but it's also to say, when you have people like this suddenly becoming very rich and very famous and running an absolutely massive company, it's a recipe for a disaster on multiple levels, abusing their power, treating workers like absolute garbage, and doing everything for pure narcissism. And I think I've been vindicated about my criticism of his charity content, because as I always said in the past, a guy like this is not motivated to do charity, but a genuine interest to do good. He doesn't have some sort of like leftist outlook on the world where he wants to help people because he's a great guy. No, he does it for attention. That's how it's always been, and it's clear if a guy makes his career like this, expressing no interest in helping anyone, suddenly gives away a lot for charity, it's just part of his brand. So when stuff comes out about him treating his workers like absolute garbage, a lot of his simp kid fans will be like, well, he does charity. Charity good. I don't understand about workers' rights, so I don't really care about that stuff. But yeah, the charity stuff is good. Now, let's talk about the worker dynamic at the Mr Beast company, or whatever it's fucking called. And it so happened that a Twitter user called Muskina actually came out of allegations against Ava Tyson with loads of receipts. And of course, you can go read this for yourself. It's a big, long Twitter thread. I'm going to post it. But you can see the text messages between them. But basically, Muskina is a trans woman, like Ava Tyson. And they originally got talking because she had transitioned and Ava was talking to her about it. And then they entered a relationship where Ava Tyson had promised Muskina basically an opportunity to work for the Mr Beast company. Now, Muskina's now coming out and saying she felt basically coerced into a sexual relationship with Ava Tyson, and also outlines how Ava treated them and basically moved on and got onto a new relationship while they were seemingly in one. Now, basically, if you read the earlier thread, Muskina is alleging that Ava Tyson assaulted her, which prompted Muskina to bring this to Mr Beast HR, and I'm going to read some of the thread for you now. So Muskina was actually living with Ava Tyson but moved out, and she says, "When I moved out, we had an agreement I would keep my job at Mr Beast as a hybrid travel remote work from home position. When I reached out to Ava after moving out to discuss my schedule for the rest of the month, she informed me that she was already working on replacing me." And you can see the text messages here, but Muskina saying, "I felt forced out of my position and made it clear to her that I wasn't comfortable with the way things went down, but she didn't answer any of my concerns. I kept in contact with her and remained friendly while I navigated my departure from the company. She told me that she was keeping the company updated and that someone would talk to me about my severance and leaving the company in June. When this didn't happen, I asked Ava for another update on my employment. I was eventually given the correct contact information for HR. Before I talked to HR, Ava found out that I had talked about her assaulting me and that I was planning on reporting her. Her reply was to send one message and then block me on everything." And you can see it here. "I learned that Ava told them I had decided to resign on my own free will, and the first they heard of me leaving was the first week of July. I informed them what was actually going on with my resignation, and it became pretty clear that Ava had not been forthcoming with them about anything that transpired between us during the course of my employment. A few days later, I told them enough about what had happened between Ava and I, which led Mr Beast to launch a third-party investigation into the matter. I provided them with evidence of chat logs, screenshots, and gave them a list of witnesses in the company who had seen Ava and I being physical together. That was over 2 weeks ago, and in that time, I have not heard back anything, despite asking for an update twice." Muskina ending the whole thread saying, "And I feel like the only way for me to move forward in my life is to talk publicly about what happened. I don't want hush money, and I don't want clout. I just want to be able to move on with my life and close this chapter." Now, the reason I bring all that up is, obviously, it's just like a terrible situation. Like, go read the thread. It's very, very long. You can get the whole story. But it just shows how unprofessional this company is. That you can have someone who, Ava Tyson pretty much is one of the most well-known figures in the cast of the Mr Beast crew, and she can use her power in the company to just do terrible stuff to Muskina here, then get her hired in the first place, and then basically discard her. He then goes to HR and hears like nothing back because she's bringing allegations that are going to look absolutely terrible for the Mr Beast company. So just like with many companies, HR is probably coordinating with the higher-ups to try and sweep this under the rug. But now with everything else coming out against Ava Tyson, where Mr Beast says he fired her and stuff, now you have this stuff which hasn't even been addressed publicly, right? And that's because when you get a bunch of dumbass young people running a company which is just throwing around money like it's nothing, is going to have like no professional standards, and also a company that really only cares about its public perception, they're really not going to take these claims seriously and address it because the company is called Mr Beast, right? So anything you deal with in terms of worker controversy is literally going to stick to him. The company is named after his YouTube channel, right? They really have such an incentive to downplay this stuff because he is going to be attached to a controversy like this where one of his best friends, longtime co-workers, has just used their power at his company to do terrible shit. Now, loads of people said Mr Beast has known all about this, right? And they've alleged it. And it felt like at the time, you had loads of former Mr Beast employees or hangers-on like Sneeko. There's this guy called Jake the Viking who are like right-wing and stuff. They all saying like Mr Beast knew about all of this. And it was hard to take seriously because it felt like a lot of opportunists dogpiling on Ava Tyson's controversy because they were anti-trans, right? But now you have stuff like this where even the person who contacted HR is saying, you know, they've known for 2 weeks and they've said nothing back to me. I've asked for updates. So again, it shows you this company is a terrible place to work generally for very, very serious stuff like this. But it even goes down, or the more basic level, is that they don't treat employees, whether contracted contestants or just like general people who work on like the camera crew, they generally treat them like absolute garbage. So we have to move forward, of course, to what has prompted more backlash because a Twitter user and a YouTube channel called DogPack 404 released a video calling Mr Beast a fraud. Now, they've alleged a lot of things against Mr Beast, and I will say, I initially saw this guy answer questions on Reddit before the YouTube video went up. And I screenshotted them like earlier last week, and I was thinking like, this seems legit from what he's saying, but some random guy on Reddit, I can't really take this seriously, and he posted what appears to be evidence that he did work for Mr Beast. My initial reading of it was he might have been some contractor who was a big Mr Beast fan and was kind of burnt in some way and was taking revenge. I don't know. But to be fair, but for a lot of the stuff he covers in his video, it really doesn't even matter if he worked for Mr Beast, because it's just legit in terms of he goes through all the various, like in his words, scams he runs for like lotteries, which would be illegal if you ran them on television, but of course YouTubers often don't obey regulations. And I'd say it's generally like a very good video. Now to start with, which is weird, I'm gonna go to the end of the video. He touches on something that I talked about in my first video almost, or basically 4 years ago. So Mr Beast ran this game show, right? And it was like a 4-part series about these contestants winning $1 million. So you had to do various challenges, like the one you see, I might show you, like last to take your hands off like $1 million of this like fake money. And there was this guy who won it called Mark. And it was weird seeing this pop up in the video. I was wondering if he even watched like some of my old videos. So basically, Mark wins the $1 million, but nowhere within the 4 videos preceding the last one is it said to the viewer that there's going to be conditions on Mark winning this money. So you just think this guy wins $1 million, right?
No way, no way! $1 million, Mark. $1 million, you can buy a house, a Lamborghini, another house, depending where you live, another house.
This is unbelievable.
And then there's another video that came out afterwards called something like I spent $1 million in 24 hours, right? Where Mark is basically told he has to spend all this money within 24 hours.
You now have 24 hours to spend the $1 million. Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Let's do it. Here you go.
Thank you.
2.
Give me 2. I want a Nintendo Switch.
All right.
2 of us.
Whoa, 2?
You sure you don't want the cheaper one? I'm just messing. You got $1 million.
That's the Series 5.
Okay.
2 Note 10 Pluses.
Of course, the new iPads as well.
Wow.
Thank you.
I don't know how much that was, but it's right there on the counter.
All I need from you is a signature right here. Vehicles are yours.
You better not read it. You're a millionaire. You ain't got time to read.
And Mark hasn't said if that was in his contract from what I've seen. But interestingly, Mark actually released a video about this as well. Now, another criticism I had for Mr. Beast, out of nowhere in this video, he starts showing you where Mark lives, and him and Ava Tyson keep talking about like how they're super glad this guy won the money because it is clear that he lives in poverty.
One Toyota Camry.
I bought it like that.
Oh, dang. How much did you buy it for?
$600.
So the current house we were just in, which is smaller than the one you just bought, you actually split it in half with another family.
Yes.
That's crazy. That's crazy. That's crazy.
Technically, anybody could use $1 million, but it's clear that this is really going to change your life and help you out in a positive way. And I'm glad we could do that for you, man.
Now we're gonna take you to Mark's house and just show you where he lives.
So this is where you currently live?
Yeah. This is my room. You know, this is where me, my wife sleep. You see, it ain't no room at all. Like,
You can't even open the door all the way.
right. This is my little cousin's room.
Your little cousin sleeps on an air mattress?
Yeah, and he popped it, so it's flat.
Your cousin is sleeping on an air mattress that's like has a hole in it, so he's sleeping on the floor. Can I just say, I'm super glad you won the $1 million. I really am. The more you show us around, the more you show us around, the more you show us around, the more I'm like, thank God you won the $1 million.
But there is like no reason you should have shown this guy's living situation. The only reason they showed it is, of course, for the image. The savior Mr. Beast has given this poor man $1 million. Not that he won it in a game show. No, he just handed him $1 million. But he's also conditioned it with, oh, you got to spend it in 24 hours. So let's listen to Mark talk about it, because it's clear that he was both uncomfortable with part of the situation, and he also really regrets a lot of his choices, which he felt he had to make because he was pressured by the Mr. Beast crew. So listen to Mark talk about this.
So one of the first things that I probably would do different, I would talk to Mr. Beast more. That's what I would probably do. I wanted to be in videos back then, but I just was trying to like keep my cool, and I ain't want to bug him, because I mean, he's famous, and I ain't want to like seem like somebody who's like just bugging him because I know he's busy and doing a whole bunch of crazy stuff and helping people. But I probably would talk to him more about that. The second thing that I probably would do different is invest. And I know what y'all about to say. Y'all about to go to the clip too, where Jimmy said that we set a certain amount aside to invest.
I know you talked about wanting to maybe invest 50K and then set aside like the other 23 for just other little nuances here and there.
Now let me clarify that a little bit, because this is not me calling anybody a liar or anything, because I know what y'all do. I know what the internet does. But what I think what happened was somebody that worked for Mr. Beast or something like that was supposed to probably help me invest, but that didn't happen. So that's what I'm thinking that happened, was somebody was supposed to help me and we never did it. I talked to Jimmy after I won $1 million, after I finally got the remaining amount in my bank account after we filmed the video and stuff. And I asked him about investing and stuff, and I was telling him, like, man, it was like almost I wanted to cry. I was telling him, I was like, man, I don't want to fail. I don't want to be like how everybody's saying, like I'm gonna run out of money and do all this crazy stuff. I was like, man, Jimmy, please help me. And he said he was gonna help me and we was gonna invest, but yeah, that didn't happen. So man, y'all gotta realize this all happened in like a day. Like I won $1 million. I flew down to Cleveland. We filmed that video in like a 2-day span. Like everything was happening too fast. I wasn't used to that. And y'all gotta remember too, people who buy houses and cars and stuff, they take time. Like people pick out a house, they usually take months and stuff. So I didn't really have that much time to do all that. So that kind of brings me into my sixth thing, time. I wish I would have had more time, and I wish I would have planned out stuff better. Like that was the best example I can give you is when we had planned out the house and stuff. I literally had an hour. He had somebody come to my house and we sat down and we planned all this in an hour. So I wish I would have had more time, and I wish I would have did a couple things differently on the time management side, which I guess I really couldn't help because I had to spend it. I had to spend the money and I had to like do all this.
If you see Mark's like general content, he doesn't like hate Mr. Beast or anything, but it is clear from what he's saying that Mr. Beast, you know, kind of took advantage of this guy. And what he thought he was signing up for and what he thought he was winning, it's clear that Mr. Beast kind of took advantage of him, in my opinion, right? Yeah, fair enough, you know, he said he'd help him out and all that stuff, but at the same time, I expressed in my first video, this guy is just going to go along with it because of the power dynamics of this is a famous YouTuber who's giving you money. What is Mark going to say to Mr. Beast? Now, like, can I, like, not spend that really quick? Can I save a bit more of that, please? And he's not going to say that, and I'm pretty sure Mark also expresses that of, like, he doesn't want to be, you know, a burden to Mr. Beast or upset him and stuff, which is a completely normal reaction to meeting and interacting with a famous person. You want to be their friend, so you're going to be careful about what you say and maybe not be yourself because you're scared of, you know, scaring them away. Now, again, a lot of people just see, oh, this guy won $1 million on a game show. Like, oh my God, it's the best thing ever. But it's clear also, I said in the video, when you have stuff like, you know, poverty and game shows, everyone knows that game shows exploit people's economic situations because the people who often win these crazy challenges are motivated by a desire to make their lives better. And we're actually going to come back to that a bit later with all the Vegas stuff, because there's a new Vegas game show and someone's actually came out and posted YouTube videos which have barely got any traction talking about their experience in this game show that Mr. Beast is running. And there's a big new article from a local Vegas outlet talking about this in detail. And even Keemstar is saying now that loads of people have messaged him about how bad it is there. So we're going to talk about that a bit later. But just while we're talking about DogPack's video as well, it seems like to me he's someone who personally liked Mr. Beast and maybe got exposed to the reality as well. If you go on his Reddit page, he's actually made a post about Feastables earlier in the year, just like posting it on the Mr. Beast subreddit. Like, he probably did work for him in some capacity, but he was like a fan of Mr. Beast, in my opinion. Now, throughout the video, he does a good job of just talking about like these online lotteries, and that's the focus. He basically exposes how in the TV industry, when you're doing things like lotteries, they're heavily regulated because, you know, there's loads of things like human bias in picking names or anything like that that might actually factor into someone winning a competition like a lottery. But what DogPack says is these are so unprofessional, they basically do break the law, and they're all just done for promoting Mr. Beast and getting his brand out there, like a lot of his stupid giveaway content. But it's clear his brand is basically built on manipulation of a child audience. And that's the same with the Feastables stuff, where he outlines that when Feastables originally came out and people basically said they didn't taste very nice, they didn't have many ingredients, but then as time went on, they got more and more like general shit in them, and Mr Beast kept talking about how obesity is such a problem, so that's why he wanted to make healthy chocolate. But then with his other brand, like the Mr Beast burger, they sell meals which are just insane in calories. So it's clear it's all just bullshit PR, but that should be clear to most people. But thankfully now we have some sort of authority coming out and talking about it. And that's the sad thing, right? When it's someone like me criticizing Mr Beast, everyone like gets really pissed off because it's a left-wing person. Or remember, like a year ago, a lot of leftist people were criticizing the eyesight video as well, and all the centrists and right-wingers were going mad defending him. But thankfully now someone who's worked for him has come out and say, yeah, this guy is a piece of shit. Now everyone's like, oh yeah, he is. I guess it just shows you sometimes the message needs to be told by someone else to get through to just general people. Now, DogPack actually answered a lot of stuff on Reddit, which I want to read you, because there's also another person who spoke out, a cameraman, and a lot of the employees coming out and speaking against Mr Beast really lines up with long-term allegations against him for treating workers like crap. Because even in 2020, there are a bunch of them. And again, the Mr Beast Defense Squad came out and started attacking anyone who'd say a bad word about him. And then, earlier this year, there was a Time article which outlined more poor treatment of his workers.
Being different cuts both ways. Time spoke to a dozen former Mr Beast employees, and while all admire Donaldson and his vision, they found the company's attention to detail slipped when it came to adhering to safety norms or maintaining a healthy work culture. But several producers mentioned pushback around hiring experts for stunts. They'd always ask us, well, why, says Troy Guthrie, who believes he was let go from Mr Beast because he kept agitating for safety. Scott Brown, a creative producer who worked for Mr Beast from March 2023 to August 23, says that in order to move fast at Mr Beast, they view safety as like being overly cautious or a weakness. He helped produce the Train vs. Giant Pit video and believed the safety procedures were insufficient. When he suggested using OSHA protocols for the pit's considerable drop, I was told we don't need to worry about that, he says. Other producers say they were asked to work with explosives, fast cars and heavy machinery with little training and on very little notice. Let's just say, as an 18-year-old, says Jay Neo, who moved to Greenville from the UK to help with the creative team, it felt weird to be writing on the board days without an accident that needed to be updated every day. Well, this lack of safety, of course, has been a recipe for success in that Mr Beast has become incredibly wealthy, famous, biggest YouTuber on the platform. But yeah, would you like to work on a set which is run by 18 to 22-year-olds driving really fast cars very fast and blowing stuff up? Do you think that is a good environment to work in? And do you think it says a lot about Mr Beast in that they see it as a weakness if you try and be safe? And also they might fire you if you bring this up. I thought good guy wholesome Mr Beast was good because he gave people money. And sometimes he goes to a poor sub-Saharan African country and makes a video about it. That's good, actually. But treating workers well, I guess that's a bit, beyond that. Because, as we all know, the success is down to Mr Beast. No one helped him. Doesn't make money off the backs of his employees. They're not responsible for his success. Yeah, it's just Mr Beast running around driving fast cars and blowing stuff up.
And now we have two people here who've come out and said even more stuff. So it's very, very likely Mr Beast treats his workers like absolute fucking shit. So let's look at DogPack's AMA quick before we move on to someone else. So someone saying, does Jimmy live an extravagant lifestyle? This guy says, Jimmy claims that materialism is a trap upon humans while heavily promoting it to children. I also saw him say that he wanted everything he owns to fit in a picture. That's a very non-descriptive way to describe an amount of space. Shows where his true intentions lie. It's definitely a lie. He lives in a $60 million studio with everything you could ever want. Best tech, gym, kitchen with private chefs, personal assistants. He drives the most expensive Tesla, and he owns so many other properties that some people have accused him of trying to start a company town, which I've talked about as well in previous videos. Also, when his GF is in town, he will rent very nice houses. He just keeps all the fun toys and adventures under company expenses, so he can claim he personally doesn't owe much. So this is something he covered in the video. Someone says, are most of the videos fake? He says, well, internally at the company, people debate what is considered fake. I would say almost all the videos have fictional elements and deceptive editing. The money is always real,
but the contestants are often family or friends of Mr Beast employees, or just the employees themselves. And this is something DogPack actually expanded upon in his video, and is actually something I've spoke about for years, in that I think a lot of people who win this stuff are his friends, and also in older videos, he does just give his friends money as well. And you've got to ask yourselves, if you're just doing that kind of stuff, like how is that taxed? Like, how does that work? Is that a tax write-off? I don't know. Now let's keep going. Have you thought about contacting CoffeeZilla? I'm sure he'd be very interested in what you have to say. Mr Beast Creative saying, I might be in contact with some of his people. Hey Jimmy, how well do you hide your crypto ventures? Now this is something which I've talked about a lot in my videos, and I always thought was absolutely amazing. Recently there's been controversy with his fans. They're like, oh, how Jimmy could you feature Logan Paul in your video when he's been doing crypto scams? Like, how could you do that, Jimmy? There's a video which has gone viral multiple times of Mr Beast and Logan Paul talking about doing a pump and dump with crypto at the behest of Gary Vee, who rang them to tell them to invest in stuff so they can make a bunch of money. But here's an interesting one. Someone tweeted, Vince Vantage, Mr Beast shills an NFT pump and dump scam with Logan and Gary Vee. Basically, Mr Beast here and Logan Paul's co-host are basically talking about doing something that, if you're doing on the stock market, would probably be illegal. Gary Vee just calls Mr Beast up, do you want to invest in these NFTs? And then he just does it, which, because he gets all these massive investors to do, really inflates the value of it. He doesn't even know much about this product and then also invests in other stuff. This guy is shady for all these things.
Punks, you guys have probably seen on his Twitter that he bought a bunch of crypto punks at the same time, right?
Yep.
When Gary pulled us in that call. Just out of nowhere, just calls me and he's like, yo, I got like 30 people to call, hop in. I'm like, I don't care. He's like, it'll be the best decision of your life. Just get in. I was like, okay. Yeah. So there's like all these like very successful people in this call. And Gary's just like, everyone shut the up. Here's what you're going to do, and you're going to do it right now. You're all going to buy a bunch of crypto punks.
So Jimmy, or Mr. Beast, just beautifully painted the picture for us. Gary Vee says, CryptoPunks, an NFT project, is going to be the next biggest thing. How do I know that? Because all of us are going to make it the next biggest thing. If we all band together and buy them, create a monopoly, the price has only one option. It's going to go up. And what do you think happened?
CryptoPunks. It's going to be huge. It's going to be the next Facebook, where all of us were like, okay,
Everyone's
Gary.
judging. I'm texting Logan, and I'm like, Gary lost his
legit?
mind.
Bro, all of us are like, yo, Gary's nuts. Yo, Gary was right again.
Are you guys hearing the words like coming out of this man's mouth? They're laughing about market manipulation. This is a crime if this was stocks, right? Securities. This is not allowed for multiple reasons.
Like 8 of them, and they did pretty good.
And any zingers? Any like real special ones?
I had some that like whatever 20, 30x.
What?
20 to 30x'd his money on a JPEG created by a bubble of other rich people, probably just laundering their money.
I bought a bunch of, so then I rolled the money into VFriends because Gary, same thing, called me. He's like, VFriends. I was like, I don't know if you know, but last time I made money, sure.
Mr. Beast just said he rolled the profits from the CryptoPunk gig into VFriends, which is Gary Vee's flagship NFT project.
Guys, a question. When Gary does that call with all these billionaires and 8 months or a year later, everybody's like, Gary was right again.
Yeah.
Is it possible that he's right because of the call?
That is good guy Mr. Beast, who only does stuff for charity and gives away all his money, talking about doing a crypto scam with Logan Paul, and people are now surprised that he invited Logan Paul on his, on his YouTube channel because he wants him there. He wants him there. They might be friends, but he wants them there because Logan Paul brings in viewers. The same with people like KSI. Like, he doesn't give a shit, does he? But that's something to keep in mind too. So DogPack was alleging that Mr. Beast puts on like fake modesty, saying like he basically owns nothing, doesn't have any money, despite Mr. Beast's company making like $600 million a year, isn't wealthy, doesn't have a massive apartment, doesn't basically use his wealth on himself. Which I've always said is absolute bullshit, but, his fans all believe it. There's another Reddit post here by a cameraman who talks about working for Mr. Beast, says it's terrible, but he also says Jimmy also is wealthy and does actually use his money in a selfish way, which you'd expect someone like him to do. So I worked for Mr. Beast as a cameraman, as a freelance camera operator in the summer of 2022. helping with the filming of some videos like I hunted 100 people. My NDA has long since expired and all videos I helped filming have been published or canned, so feel free to ask me anything. So how were you and the other employees treated? I responded how the shooting sessions with Jimmy went in another comment, but in general it was a pretty crushing job. You are expected to be available 24/7 for shootings and overtime is hardly paid if it's done in Greenville. OSHA is a joke. If I had to sum up the organisation in one word, I wouldn't say evil like many people these days are suggesting, but disorganised. Mr Beast is trying so hard to make something new, he's basically making a shitty version of a production company. Like higher-ups are all friends of Jimmy who don't know what they're doing. HR uses Discord instead of Slack. There's no best practices or external advisors. It's like a crappy startup, but 10 times the size. But hey, they paid me well, so I'm not complaining. Does he live like a regular person, or does he flaunt cash and a rich lifestyle? He sells himself as more humble than he really is, but he's not out there buying yachts and football clubs like some Saudi princes. Big car, shining house of staff, in-house gym. And would you ever work for him again? Absolutely not. Based on all the videos I've done before covering the other working conditions at Mr Beast, based on what we uncovered in this video, this guy saying HR is basically a joke, and basically Mr Beast is like a shitty startup. And it's not surprising they're going to cover up for their friends like Ava Tyson, who can abuse their position as one of the top employees there, right? And it just makes so much sense how badly these people are treated when Mr Beast is running the show like an absolute amateur, because he is. Like, what history does he have as a manager or a CEO? What training does he have? YouTubers are hardly compliant with a lot of laws anyway, and then you have a guy like this. So it's not, surprising to anyone who has a brain and isn't 10 years old that this guy probably isn't a nice guy, and the modesty image is completely fake. Like his boy Elon, who does the same thing. I'm not surprised at all that he lives a pretty lavish lifestyle in basically like his hometown, because yeah, he has more money than most of us will ever see in an entire lifetime from like a yearly salary. So of course he's going to do all these things. Him pretending he doesn't care about money is just an act. Like every single fucking thing he does is just an act. And people should just be skeptical of ultra rich people, especially when they come from a background of being an edgelord trying to go viral, suddenly becoming a millionaire overnight. And now apparently he wants to be the best president ever, give loads of charity to poor African countries, while just trying to be a force of good for humanity. At the same time, he can't even treat his employees right. So we're meant to expect he's a good guy for doing charity with aspirations to be president, but he can't do the bare minimum of, treat people who make him successful in an okay manner. Now, finally, we get to the last part of the video, which, it gets even worse. You thought everything I said was bad, it gets even worse. So there's a Mr Beast shoot going down in Las Vegas right now, and so many people have signed NDAs, so they can't talk about it at all. I guess a lot of people are not giving a shit because they are talking about it, but Scott Roban is a writer for Vital Vegas, and like I said, people like Keemstar are saying they're hearing about this too. But he wrote this article on July 18th, but keeps updating it with more people getting in contact about how terribly they're being treated at this shoot. So just going to read some of the article, and hopefully I can play you some of the video of apparently one of the contestants talking about how poorly she was treated. Mr Beast is filming his new Amazon Prime video series, Beast Games, in Las Vegas. It's an upcoming reality competition where 1,000 contestants will compete for a $5 million prize. The production is using Rio and Luxor for staging, and about 2,000 people are being transported to film a segment of the show on July 18th, pretty much as I'm writing these words. Of course, everyone involved is under NDA, but we are Vital Vegas and we didn't sign a damn thing. Nothing happens in our town without us knowing. Mr Beast says think Squid Games, but on steroids times a billion. So update, 19th of July. In a concerning twist to the story, a source claims Desert Spring Hospital has seen countless patients today coming from Beast Games due to a lack of food and water. We have reached out to Mr Beast and his publicist about the situations. Scott writing, we received contradictory reports about the conditions during the production. A hospital employee told us, I'm aware of 3 or 4 hospital visit evacs today. Overnight shift said it was insane, so not sure if or how many hospital evacs there were. The production is a shit show and unprepared for this scale, making decisions as they go along. The bare bones medic staff on site is not adequate and were overwhelmed last night. They compete at night. One contestant says, contestants were instructed to provide producers with 5 days worth of medication, and as of today, contestants had not received a single dose. They have denied food to diabetics, denied water to contestants, and at least 2 individuals have had seizures as a result. One contestant noted production staff hired locally in Vegas were treated poorly, with some working shifts in the excess of 24 hours in a row. Medications such as inhalers, contact lenses, and feminine hygiene products were surrendered, which caused concern among the production's medical staff, with some encouraging contestants to hide their meds in their clothing to avoid detection. Due to a large number of contestants, waits could be an hour for elevators at hotels. Contestants were asked to give the production team several pairs of undergarments, which were not returned upon disqualification. Food consisted of what's described as hideous porridge. Another contestant says, no medications, no undergarments, despite supplying 5 days of. Only electrolytes with Gatorade handed out in the second day in a small batch that ran out quickly and people were fighting over, hoarding, ran out of meals for people, water would run out, was completely not a safe space. Many of us knew it would be mentally challenging, but the danger we were put in and lack of care from the staff wasn't expected. No clear communication between staff either, making it worse. That all sounds like a total shit show, and the part about like menstruation products and women's underwear and stuff just screams to me there aren't actually like anyone on the team who has periods, because how are you overlooking that so much when you're keeping people in these conditions? It reminds me so much of that real life Netflix Squid Game, which also had brutal conditions. Like, what are these people doing in these reality shows? Why are they making these shows feel like you're a prisoner or something? Like, it's totally inhumane how they treat people, and just shows you Mr Beast Company is run like an absolute joke. And this is what it all proves. And he doesn't give a shit about it. How many years has he been doing this now? Like 6 years or something? And they're still doing shit like this, even when they're doing an Amazon Prime show. They're still being total amateurs because they can get away with it, thanks to being in places like America, but also just because he knows he has that cult of personality where little dumbass kids don't give a shit about how you treat workers and employees as long as they get the fun brain rot content. Now, I actually found someone on YouTube called Jenny, or Jenny or whatever, and she said she competed. She basically corroborated all these stories. Now, in my skeptical mind, I'm thinking a lot of what she says I just read out for you, but also she could be one of the people talking to the press. There isn't really much of an effort to make these videos go viral. Like, this one's from 6 days ago and has 1,000 views. There's another one from 3 days ago that has like 300 views. But basically what she says, she tells all the terrible things that happen, the terrible conditions, and how she is not getting paid for 4 months as well. And she says she doesn't have anything. She's basically homeless.
So today is first morning, I guess it's afternoon now, that I've experienced being eliminated from the new Mr. Beast Game Challenge. Of the 400 people that left, the majority of them, I'd say at least half, are all extremely depressed. I don't know if I can say extremely, but I definitely know that they are depressed. As far as I've heard from so many people that I've talked to personally, as well as people that I've spoken to that are employed by other organizations that are around like the games right now, a lot of people have come up and expressed that they are really not doing okay. It was so much work and exhausting to just get to that point to even be in the games, and then to be kicked out, and you kind of get ostracized. The staff, like, they become really cold towards you once you're actually kicked out. Mr. Beast does not talk to everybody, all his fans or anything, and I mean, like, there's so many different things. I'll keep giving updates on this, but like, Mr. Beast is a monster, and the games that he does are really cruel and sick. They actually had called a one kind staff member of the only three kind staff members that I came across that were like really concerned about the well-being of all the people that were so distraught, had actually come to me and asked me if I was okay, and I told them I wasn't. Do you get money from the show? Yes and no. You get fake money while you're on the show. Complete fake money, and then they take it from you right after they get their little shots done, and then they have you sign some paperwork where they tell you that they're going to send you the money at a later point in time. For me, it was supposed to be $1,000. That's like nothing. $1,000 for everything that we'd gone through. And it takes 4 months. It was going to take 4 months to get to me, as Mr. Beast and his staff knew that I was homeless and had nothing when I went on the show. And I had to buy stuff for wardrobe to be on the show. Like, I did everything that I could to try and be able to stay on the show as long as I could. And then the people on the show, like, had such a hard time getting their medication. Many people, and these are prescription medications, many people, sometimes they hadn't gotten their medication for like 2 days. Some of it was like epileptic medication, like really vital, necessary medication. I know for me, every time I went to go and try and get my medication, I would have trouble as well. Mr. Beast, like, he genuinely just wants to psychologically, like, disturb people. And that's exactly what his show is. And I've heard this from a lot of reputable sources now. That show really is destroying lives.
She was personally saying she couldn't get her medication and how hard it was to just exist in that environment, and just how it was a terrible experience all round because the basic functions of just humans weren't catered for, because the show is being run by a 26-year-old man-child with no concept of the real world, because he became a millionaire as an edgelord YouTuber at 18, and now he runs basically like a wannabe production company, but it seems like he doesn't follow any of the guidelines or rules. Now, I've talked about all these things, and we could talk about loads and loads of things. Like, this video could be like 5 hours long. But basically, I guess the point of the video is going to be related to myself. And I think the final message for people is, and this video might be titled something like, I was always right about Mr. Beast. You know, as much as I love to joke around about how I'm right about everything, this video isn't really like a pat on the back for myself. Because the problem is, right, you can see stuff like this coming from a mile away if you have like any critical thinking skills. And what the point of this video, if you've made it this far, is to tell you is, be critical of people like this. If it's someone who is portraying this image, especially when it's wrapped up in like capitalist wealth extraction as well for his workers, or even just like a typical, you know, millionaire charity work, you have to be skeptical of why people are doing stuff. Like, people say, oh, he does charity work, so he must be good. He has a food bank, so he must be a good person. Not realizing that corporations obviously whitewash themselves all the time. Corporations do stuff like this. Loads and loads of billionaires do stuff like this. Does it make them a good person, or are they doing it at the very least for, you know, sanitizing their image so people aren't as critical when they do bad things? Or could it be for a tax reason, or could it be for both? Like, you need to keep that skepticism of powerful and rich people, because first of all, you're never going to be like them. They don't care about you, and they're going to treat you like garbage if they ever interact with you, because they don't see you as equal to them, and they don't care about your welfare. So Mr. Beast built his brand and is building his brand continually on the extraction of labor value from his workers, while treating them like garbage, and while letting other employees like Ava Tyson get away with abuses of power because they run it like a frat house. They don't give a shit. And you should think about that no matter who it is. And that's why also, you know, left-wing people are generally right about stuff years in advance and then get proven right, because you need that critical thinking of power structures and just the powerful people and just wealth to actually realize, oh yeah, I'm not going to be swayed about someone being a good guy because he gives to charity, and Moist Critical will make a million videos defending him from criticism of his charity work or his general videos because he also has a financial interest in this guy being successful, right? It's the parasociality with the whole YouTube scene. So what I will say is just, you know, think for yourself. Like, actually think for yourself, and don't fall into a cult of personality around anyone, because it's clear to see whether it's Mr. Beast or Elon Musk, you can see they're bad people years before the rest of the world catches on if you just think about the world in a certain way. And that's why as leftists, we're often proven right so much, because we don't naively fall for it, because we realize the status quo of these types of things aren't inherently good, because on the surface they might appear like moral or something. So there's going to be more stuff coming out about Mr. Beast, right? I might have to make another video, but it doesn't really matter. I've been saying for 4 years, he exploits poverty for content. He treats his employees like garbage. His charity work is just a smokescreen to whitewash his image. And I've been proven right about all of that, and more allegations, and especially with this Vegas stuff, it's going to come out. And Mr. Beast will never recover properly from this, I don't think. I think this is it now. Like, all this stuff that Ava Tyson combining with the Vegas stuff, I think he's pretty much done as he was before. And people just realize anyway, if you have a child, don't let them watch this crap. If you want them to grow up to be a healthy person who has good values and good views about the world, don't let them watch brain rot content like Mr. Beast to warp their perception of what's moral. Mr. Beast is basically someone filming themselves giving a homeless man $100 and posting it on YouTube. That is basically what he is, and it doesn't matter how far he moves away from the original videos he did like that. To his core, that's who he is, because he hasn't really had any personal development outside of that, just making garbage YouTube videos. So that is it for the video. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments, and if you made it this far, thank you for watching.